Well, hello there this special Saturday evening. I see no one's on yet, but that does not mean anything. But I know Eric's lurking in the background. Um, while Gabriella is getting ready, I will say our weather like I normally do. Um, it got up to 18, a little bit higher, maybe between 18 and 20 today. The current temperature is 12, but it feels like zero. We are supposed to get like below zero tonight. And tomorrow, I guess, is the last day of these really, really frigid temperatures. And then we're going to get up starting Monday more to the norm. So we'll see what happens this week. So I just want to hurry up and check this out. Okay, so, well, hi, Linda. Hi, Cactus. Well, Gabriella's in raiding my kitchen because she said she's going to get a bite to eat because she didn't eat. So guess what she be doing out there? Don't mind the Christmas stuff. As you see, there's still Christmas stuff there in the background. I still need to dig out some of my boxes and everything to put it away. Just had so much stuff going on all around that, like, okay, so yeah, it's a surprise live. Yeah, what I'm gonna try to start doing is, I might even start next week. I'm gonna try to have my stories done on Monday, and so that Monday will be the special story time. But if I can squeeze one in every night, I'm going to try to get one in every night, even if Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, it's either me by myself or me with maybe Eric, or if Abby wants to come over or whatever. Now, our Universal Yum package will be in on Tuesday, so we will probably do that on the Thursday show. Or, I don't know, I guess we'll decide on Tuesday when it comes in, if it comes here on that day. We'll decide what we're going to do. Now, it's going to be a smaller one. The next one that will come in March, because since this one will be actually February's package, the one after that will be our March package. When that one comes in, that one's going to be Poland, and it's going to be the bigger package. So that one will probably be done maybe on a Tuesday and a Thursday, or a Thursday and a Friday. So maybe a Thursday with Gabriella, and then maybe Friday with Eric, because he said he definitely wants to do the Universal Yum ones, or whoever wants to join me for that. So we got B Squared in the house. Welcome back, B Squared. What, Gabriella? In the house. What have you missed? You've missed a lot, B Squared. If we have a couple. No, Linda, you and your Pakistan. No. We have had some interesting shows here and some interesting topics, B Squared. We were talking about the ice wall of Antarctica. We were talking about what else will we talk about yesterday on that show? We kind of like, the show we had, the last one about the ice walls, everything that could possibly happen happened in our kitchen. And there was some loud noises that the audience here actually heard going on in the kitchen. We heard footsteps. We kind of left so we could go check out. It was creepy. I at first thought, which he has never done it before, I thought maybe Dylan got off of work and he snuck in, and he was doing that because he knew we was live. He doesn't do that. Now, Chase would, but Chase and Abby wasn't home, or they were gaming or something, and Dylan was still at work yet at that time. But Dylan
was not at work.
No, he wasn't. He was
He was not here.
Okay, well, when Dylan comes, usually he usually like sneaks, and he just pokes his head above these doors right here. So we'll usually know when it's him because he doesn't do that. But we checked out everything and we have no explanation for any of the sounds, noises, or anything like that that we encountered that night.
She said, I miss Paranormal Activity. Damn it.
Yeah, go back and review that one. It was on Real Talk. We were on for about 2 hours, about at an hour and a half point where we were getting ready to stop. But then things started happening, and we had a couple new people show up, and where they're like, okay, everything started happening in the room. So we literally said, okay, hold it, guys. And we went in there and checked out. We couldn't find what was making the noise. We come back in, it started up again, went back out and checked again. So it was an interesting night. So we're there like, it's gotten to the point where Tom looked at me today and he says, "Hun, maybe you should do an investigation here in the house." Now, we've been kind of swaying from that, doing that, because a lot of times when you do an investigation in your own home, it amps up the activity even more. So we're kind of, but he says, hey, don't you want to, we kind of want to know what's going on here. So I don't know, but Gabriella found a topic that kind of has her boggled. And she came over to me and talked today. And I said, well, when do you want to do that one? Because we're going to do the Jersey Devil next week. That'll probably be Tuesday's show, unless we do the Universal Yums Tuesday and do Jersey Devils on Thursday. But we'll play it, like I said, as it goes. But she come across this topic and she says, Mom, this kind of freaks me out a little bit. And it's quite interesting. There is a lot of conspiracy. It is a conspiracy theory type. Hi, Monkey. Welcome back. Look at this. We got the full house tonight. Woot woot.
The Jersey drizzle.
The dirt. I'm saying the I can't even say it tonight.
Blah, blah, blah.
For a while, I was saying the New Jersey Devils, and I'm there like, no, that's the hockey team. No, we're not talking about the hockey team. We're talking about Jersey Devils, the cryptids, which is quite interesting. I started doing some research on it. Apparently, Linda said she watched a documentary on it, so if I say something wrong or we say something wrong when we're doing that show, she can say, that's not what I read, and she can correct us. So what you doing? You're just getting comfortable?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, you look like you were getting ready to get up. So, excuse me, I still got this cough. Go ahead and start, Gabriella. After she chews her food.
So, the topic tonight is going to be about the GATE program. And I want to know how many of you are familiar with it, because apparently it was all across the United States in school. Now, this is why I'm getting into this topic. I was cleaning all day yesterday in our apartment, and I was putting things together, and then I had this flashback of me, yes, the GATE program for gifted and talented.
Yep, that's right.
It's called the Gifted and Talented Program, but for some reason it's called GATE. Anyways, I was cleaning, and I had this almost like flashback to my childhood that I can't remember a whole bunch of things about in the first place, but I had a flashback, and it was of me in this random room. Yeah. So it was of me in this random room with this random lady. She gave me a bunch of weird things, and I had to do a bunch of weird things. Like, she was saying a bunch of weird things, and I was like, okay, that's weird. And then the vision stopped.
We could play a weird drinking game.
Then I go on my For You page on TikTok, And it was almost like my For You page knew what I was thinking and was like, hey, you want to know what the fuck that was about? Here you go. And put it on my For You page, and it's called The Gate Theory, and everything on there was what I experienced in elementary school that I guess not everybody experienced. It was only for the gifted and talented children. And the whole conspiracy theory is that they put you in this room and have you do all these experiments, such as remote viewing. Okay, first of all, do any of you remember either being pulled aside or pulled out of classroom by a random person that wasn't even part of the school, and they had you in that room asking you a bunch of weird questions, like after lunch? Do you remember that? I sound like I'm going crazy. Do you remember it?
Well, you don't really need to wait for an answer because they'll come up and you can explain why you're asking that question.
So the reason I'm asking is because the GATE program is supposedly a CIA-based program in school that was funded by the CIA to get the children who might have psychic or crazy mental abilities that they didn't want us to have.
Did they need parental approval?
Nope. It was done unconsensually for the children and unconsensually for the parents. Some parents, I guess, did get notified of it, but you don't need to sign anything. You just say, oh yeah, put my children in there, or I don't want my child in there, this doesn't sound right, and they'll take him out. It was called the Gifted Program. I think we took more advanced classes. So there's different versions of it. There is the GATE program and TAG program, where you're pulled into a random room with this random lady or man, and they're asking you a bunch of questions, and they're asking you to, like, they'll show you a picture of people, and they will ask you, like, of body language, and they will ask you, like, how are you feeling, and things like that. They also had a whole bunch of shapes and paperwork that had a whole bunch of numbers and letters on it, and you had to decode it. The thing that I remember the most is the headphones. They were brown headphones you put on, and they make like a beeping sound, and you're supposed to remember the beeping sound, or the beeping sound correlates to something, and they will ask you, like, what did that correlate to and what did you see? Even sometimes we would have the headphones on, they would put a blindfold on us, or we would have to close our eyes and say what frequency of the sound looked like and sounded like, and it was weird.
How about that?
Yeah, and the other thing that I remember the most is this pink drink in a little tiny plastic, like, Solo cup thing, and it was just like maybe about that much liquid in it, and they would have us drink it, but other kids they told to swirl around in their mouth and spit it out. What we were told that was to check our hygiene, like our dental hygiene. But it was not to check our dental hygiene. It was fluoride, and they had us drinking fluoride. Which, by the way, if you are, like, really in tune with your psychic abilities and everything, that's because of your pineal gland up here, where your third eye is and everything. And drinking fluoride, like, kind of, it hides those abilities. And I remember being taken out of class for like a few weeks and them having us drink that and then another group not drink that.
And she said some took pills.
Yeah, some did take tablets.
Now, you made a comment, Cactus, saying I can barely remember high school.
Well, that's what's weird about this whole situation. I can't remember my elementary experience or my childhood at all growing up. And then randomly yesterday while I was cleaning, I had that vision of me in that classroom. Well, it wasn't even a classroom, that room with that random lady that was asking me a bunch of random things, and then it stopped. And then I was like, okay, that was weird. I don't know what the fuck that was about. And then I went on my For You page on TikTok, and they showed me the GATE program and what I was literally just seeing in my vision. Well, flashback. And I will show you what I'm talking about. So I sound crazy.
This is the same period of time too. I'm kind of like I'm like in the middle of it. It's not that I disbelieve, but I don't necessarily believe. I'm like right here. I'm not here or here. I'm like right here. And I remember too. This was like in her early years of school, like pre-middle school, I guess, and that was the time when the principal of the school was really, really being awful with her, and they were treating her like dirt, and she went through so much trauma, and it was during that same time period too. So
the only reason though that I don't believe that it was childhood trauma is because a bunch of other people have experienced the exact same thing that I have, and have.
Well, I remember being pulled out and going to the gifted class, and they did those little things in that room. They did all those kind of goofy testing, and they asked questions and stuff, but I didn't have to drink fluoride or take a fluoride tablet. We did take fluoride tablets in my last 2 years of school, my junior and senior year, for your teeth. And other than that, I don't remember them giving us fluoride to drink or to chew on or anything like that. But I do remember them putting through, like with the headphones and tapping how many beeps you hear and seeing the pictures, what you can remember on the pictures and all this.
I think they would give us the fluoride right before we went into the room to do those tests and everything. And I think they told us that it was either... There was two different reasons, because I think we did get it for like dental hygiene and everything. But I think these people specifically said to calm your nerves before the testing. Oh, why would they tell us that?
Yeah, that kind of
yeah, weird. So anyways, if you remember any of these sheets, you might have been in the GATE program. I remember the one on the far bottom left, the far bottom right, and the shape ones. I don't remember the that one on the top. I don't remember that one. But I do remember all the other ones.
We had to do that for our big testing at the end of the year in our high school years. That was the same type of testing we had to do in our high school years.
How many kids with you, Gabriella? None. So that was the even more weird part. They would take one kid at a time out of the classroom in certain weeks. And wait, what? And the parents didn't know their kids were just seeing this stuff and being put through these tests? No, they didn't. They had no clue. And we couldn't remember until, I guess, people don't remember this until their early adulthood or late adulthood, and then it all starts coming back to them, and they're like, oh my god, this is crazy because I remember this happening so vividly.
Let me do this. B Squared says, Google says Callie had the mentally gifted minor program since 1961, changed to GATE in 1980. Oh, I think we called it more able, but my memory sucks.
See, mine was called TAG, and I asked, because I fell down this rabbit hole yesterday while Dylan was at work, and then as he came home, I was like, I fell down a rabbit hole. I'm kind of losing my shit here, man. I need to ask you a question. And I asked him about it, and he said the same thing happened to him. And I asked Abby and Chase the same thing. They said, yeah, Chase was even describing it before I said, like, what was happening in these rooms and everything. Then I asked Eric, and he says he has no recollection of this happening at all. Like, he doesn't know this didn't happen to him. He wasn't one of the lucky ones, I guess. But
Mine, I remember when I was probably, like I had told you earlier today, probably in about 3rd or 4th grade, they had said something about being gifted, and they took me to a room and they did some of those tests and everything. I don't remember if it was a man or a woman there because I'm old. But I do remember that, and it was just, they wanted to just see how gifted you were, how smart you were, and do the testing. Nothing more, but I didn't have to drink any fluoride or take any fluoride tablets.
I did. I think that's why I forgot everything. Literally, I remember being so smart when I was younger. I remember somebody putting a math sheet in front of me and I would be able to solve it within 2 seconds. I remember being able to read at like a 5th grade level and only being in 3rd grade. I remember being so smart, and then from like 4th grade on, I lost all of that, and then I had to almost like reteach myself how to read, how to write, how to do math equations. And I'm not the only one that's experiencing this either. I took a video on TikTok and they said, I used to be so smart, and had almost the exact same thing that I've been saying to Mom written down. And I was like, okay, so it's not just me. So is it the fluoride that they were giving us that kind of made our brains go, woo? Or like, are we just dumb? Did we grow up and forget things like all of a sudden? I don't know. But it's weird. And here is the fluoride that I was talking about in pink cups. They were clear cups with little tiny bit of pink liquid. But that liquid would add up after like a week of fucking drinking it. And they would give it to us, I'm pretty sure, every single time right before we went in to do the testing.
I don't know what to say. Like I said, I remember going when I was, like I said, it had to be maybe 3rd or 4th grade. And they were, and I was so shy in school, and they were saying gifted and maybe skipping a grade and doing this and doing that. And I'm not skipping any grade. I don't care how much testing you want to do. And I just stopped. I refused to go. I'm there, no, I don't want this testing to be done. I just refused it.
But then there's these. They had us remember those shapes, and then they would have us put our hands on the table while our eyes are closed, and they would do that and ask us what shape we saw. And I remember like my intuition or something telling me, don't, one of the times, because I did tell the truth like a few of the other times when I was in there, but one of the times that I was in there, I remember my intuition telling me like, don't tell them the truth. What's gonna happen? They can't do anything if you say the wrong answer or wrong answers. Then I never heard back from them. I think that's when it ended. I think that's when they took me out or something. I don't know, but that part I'm not entirely sure, but I do know that I lied to them what the shape was, but we had to have our hands on the table flat like this with our eyes closed, or they put a blindfold on us with headphones, and we had to listen to a certain frequency. It was a bunch of weird shit. Like, why would they have you do remote viewing in a random room in school if they weren't looking for something?
But here's my question. If these kids are having this done in school and you thought it was weird, or any kid thought it was weird, why didn't you go home and say, hey, I had the weirdest thing happen to me
because
in school
we
today?
were young, Mom. We didn't understand what was happening. They just told us, oh, you're doing a bunch of tests, and you're in the... All the parents knew, some of them at least, knew that your kid was put into a gifted and talented program.
Well,
that was it.
My thing is like the one where they were trying to do astral projection, and they put them on those. Some kids go home and tell their parents everything. I'm not saying necessarily you, but a lot of kids, most kids will go home and say, hey, we did this weird thing in school today, you know.
A kid has the attention span of a freaking goldfish.
Not all kids. Not all kids. Some kids.
Yes, all kids.
I used to go home all the time and tell my mom every single detail of what happened in school.
How old?
From the time I was first grade on. I would go home and tell them everything because I loved school, so I wanted to make sure.
Well, you're weird, so you're weird.
I did love school. I loved everything about school,
and I would
I'd
go halfway through the day, and I would completely forget what happened the first half of the day.
Oh, I went home and told my mom every detail of everything that went on. Like, it was like when the shower thing and that in school, I'd go home and tell Mom, hey, this is what they want us to do. This is what I ain't going to do. And, you know, I pretty much told her everything.
Well, I didn't. And I remember this happening. And maybe some kids did say it, and maybe the parents didn't think anything of it because they were in the gifted and talented program.
I'm not disputing what you're telling me or anything that you're saying. I'm just saying, I know even in classes that I know a lot of kids, my cousins even, they went home, their parents would say, well, how did everything go in school today? And they just...
used to be like that. We used to tell you guys, like...
Yeah, you did. That's why I'm saying. That's why I'm surprised I didn't hear about this.
Like I said, I don't know, because I remember some days I would literally go like halfway through the day at school and then not even remember what happened the first half. Come home, me and Abby would have our little insects in our dollhouse.
Yeah, but that was the time too when Trooper, yeah, that fucked up. Oh, Crooper. I don't even like to say his name. That's when he was giving you a hard time too, and you wanted to forget what he was putting you through. Because if you remember, we had no clue about anything that went on with Crooper until almost right before we pulled you out of school and started doing cyber schooling, because that's how bad it got.
Yeah.
And then that's when the other mothers come up to me up at Toys R Us and said, hey, you pulled both of your girls out of school, and I'm hearing things in school about Gabriella, like, can you fill me in? And I'm there, sure. And I filled them in. That's exactly what's happening with my daughter. And there was about 5 other mothers that was up there that come up to me up at Toys R Us and said the same thing was happening with their daughters is what Crooper put you through. And that is traumatic, and you're not going to want to remember that, because I still want to get the guy in the dark alley and beat the living shit out of him for what he put you through.
Well, I do too.
So.
Hell yeah.
Right now, I probably would. I mean,
as long as they don't give me fluoride or like tell me to drink or eat something, I'm not doing that.
Yeah, because normally that type of testing, I remember we did, I remember the time, like I said, when I was probably in third or fourth grade, but when we were in high school, we did that. And when we were on spot class, when I was married to Eric's dad, and we were on welfare, we were having a real hard time of it. And they sent me back to school. All the testing and that I had was almost exactly like that they did on me to see what grade level my intelligence was in, and to send me back to school.
See, that would make sense if it wasn't, if they grabbed like every kid in the class and made them do that at like random points in the day or whatever. But since they only grabbed a certain person from the class, not the smartest person in the class, and had them do ESP, remote viewing, astral projection, weird shit.
But I think,
It makes no sense.
and if you look at both sides of the story, it is suspicious. I 100% agree. It is suspicious, especially considering that they didn't get a parent consent for it. But at the same time, thing I got to look is it's the same as teachers and stuff in school. You have certain teachers that pick certain kids in class, and they more or less kiss that kid's ass because they like them, and they're willing to bend over backwards to help them achieve their goals and everything. While other kids are struggling, and they're like, you can just struggle, I don't give a shit. I've seen that so many times in school with teachers, them doing that, and they do pick and choose their favorites. Like
I was not chose because I was somebody's
Nancy's
favorite.
friend Jenny, she was in special education, and that's, I don't have any problem with that, because that's good that they're getting special learning. But she actually did her work for her, and then she got graded according to what the teacher did for her. And other kids sat in the class and they could barely say their ABCs or add simple math up and that, and yet she was pampering her. I mean, that's my whole point, that it could be something like this where, okay, this group of kids really, really smart. I want that one. I want that one. That one over there looks good. I want that one. They could pick and choose like that. You happen to be one of them that they chose. So there had to have been something somewhere.
Yeah, but so was Abby. Why does it seem like it was only... I wonder if we contacted Nancy if she would remember. It seems like it's only the females in the family.
That's true. Yeah, because I know, like I said, I remember that. Because like I said, I had to have been only... I'm thinking third grade. Because, like I said, I knew how to read before I even started first grade. And we didn't have kindergarten. So when you went to school, you went straight to school. But I had already known how to read and everything when I started school. And I'm pretty sure when it came to like third grade is when they pulled me aside. It had to have been around that period. Because I know it wasn't middle school. Well,
I know I was in elementary school.
Yeah, I'm pretty positive it wasn't middle school. It was.
But I'm going to show you guys a few more of the tests that they made us do, because
it is very questionable. There is big. It's like the paranormal. It
like drives me crazy, because they're saying that the people who have paranormal experiences since they were a kid and up to their adult life now, some of that is connected to the people in the GATE program, and a lot of other things, which I thought was crazy, because I was literally just talking to Dylan about this like yesterday or the day before, is a lot of people who have reported being in the GATE program or TAG program has stated that they had a near-death experience of almost drowning as a child. And I had that happen to me. And why is that somehow connected to everybody who was in this program? Like, I'm so confused. And I just remember being in that room so scared and like freaked out. And I remember the lady telling me that I didn't have to be afraid, that it wasn't part of my actual grade, and that they were just going to do a few tests and then it would be over, like nothing happened. And then they would come back like a few times a week and redo the same thing or give you different quizzes. And
no, not to interrupt her, but she said it did tie in with dreams, and one of the dreams was going into like a big mall or like a big mansion.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I used to always have this dream, and it drives me crazy, but it's like a big, I don't know if it's like a hotel or if it's a mansion, but I know the bottom half like was humongous, and there was just like big kitchen and big hallway, big living room, and in the living room there was a side door that when you opened up the door and walked up the steps, which was really like creepy, like they were like very haunted. When you got up to the second level, it looked almost like a hall of like hotel rooms and bathrooms, and just like as if you was in like a real fancy hotel. And I had that recurring dream, and I always remember walking down the one hallway, and I would get to the one spot, and I'd go to open up the door, and this like real bad, horrible, almost evil feeling come all around you. And as you're reaching for the door and going to open it, you could just feel like this evil presence in there. And then I'd traumatize myself, and I'd wake myself up from the dream. And I even to this day, every now and then, I'll still have a dream of that particular house or hotel or whatever the hell it was. So I don't know. But like again, I don't remember them having a program called Gate or Tag, but I do remember being pulled aside, and I heard them say the word gifted, and they did do testing.
I remember Tag specifically. When they said Gate program, I was like, I don't think I was in that program. Well, when this one lady said, but it was also known as Tag, that's when immediately it clicked in my brain. I was like, I was in a program called Tag. I remember it specifically because I came home the one day. I think I had a paper.
I remember you telling me about Tag.
I had a paper or something. I told Mom about it, and I was like, talented and gifted? What does that mean? Does that mean I'm special? Like, I didn't know I was a kid. I had no idea. And she was like, well, that just means that they're going to test you for whatever. And that was it. And
so we did know.
Yeah, you knew, but you didn't know. Like,
well, yeah, I didn't know what they were doing.
Like I said, all that parents know is they either get a paper that says, like, oh, we're going to test your kid to see how smart they are, or something like that, or they tell them physically that they're just going to be put into this program, and you kind of have to accept it. But, like, if you're a really sketchy parent, then you don't have to accept it. You could say, I don't want my child in this program, take them out. Or just have them not even show up to it at all. So that was an option, but at the same time, the people who accepted it was a lot of people, and we accepted it, and I didn't remember any of this until yesterday. Female line of the family, yeah.
It is weird.
It is weird, but we all have this connection, like,
we do.
Spiritual, witchy.
Well, the funny thing is we are all exceptionally close.
And that, yes.
And sometimes we read each other's thoughts. We say things before we even know what the other person is going to say.
It's pretty scary sometimes.
We did that, what was it, yesterday? Yep.
Yeah.
So, I mean, and that in itself is kind of interesting.
It would be interesting to know if Nancy had gone through this.
I know Nancy says she has psychic abilities. I know that much.
Well, another thing is I always have this dream. I even like now I have this dream that I can move things with my mind.
I've had that. I've had dreams like that too.
And but it's like constant. Like it happens.
See, now I haven't had one like that in years.
But I never understood why, and I still don't really understand why, because I'm not gonna be able to look at an object to be like, come here, like use the force. I know I can't do that. But I have these dreams that I can, and that I'm like moving little objects at a time, and then I come into the living room like, Mom, look what I could do, and I move like a giant like.
She's talking about these dreams. That would be another good topic for us to discuss on here. Dreams and what do they mean? That would be another good topic.
Depending on if we could find what they mean.
I have a dream book somewhere, and your dad had a dream book. If we can find them, like you said, but I'm sure. Matter of fact, my dream book might be on my Kindle. I think it could be, if I can find. I know where my Kindle is, but I don't know if I have the charger for the Kindle. But yeah, it's just.
So we're getting back to the whole GATE program. Pause. Do you remember having to put on headphones like those? Actually, that one's not really a good. It's these ones. And you can't see. Hold on. These headphones. Do you remember putting on those headphones and listening for a beep or like a weird frequency or something? Because I do.
Well, I know that when they did the hearing testings and stuff in that school, you had to listen to the beep and put up your hand.
Yeah, well, you would raise your hand, but for these, it was weird because they would give, at least for me, they would give you a button, and every time that you heard a beep, you would have to press the button.
I had that too, and
there was also the frequencies that they were like, you close your eyes and you say like what you saw through the frequencies, or like what color that represented, or something, and it was weird. But then you would describe it, and they would write down like a circle or an X on their little notepad.
I remember the thing other than the hearing thing, because we had to tap for how many beats that we heard, like in which ear, like it was this ear, tap how many, this one, tap this many, like whatever.
Well, I remember the hearing thing because they would have us do that, and I actually do believe that was like a testing like your hearing abilities and things. But it was like you raise your hand, like did you hear a beep in your left ear? Raise your hand. In your right ear, raise your hand.
I had both though. I had the hearing test where they raise your hand to which beep, and they would do different frequencies, how low, how high, like what range your hearing was in each ear. But I also had the testing when I was in that room where they had, tap to how many beeps you hear. So if I heard like beep, 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 here I go beep, 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 and beep, beep, whatever. You would have to tap according to how many beeps that you heard in each ear. So,
but there was that I remember so vividly. Here's the flashcards that I was talking about before, because mine were the colored ones. They weren't the black and white ones. They would have you remember those.
And I was telling, if you watch Ghostbusters,
put your hands on the table, and then they would flip the card over and place it on the table and ask you what shape you saw, and then you would tell them, and then they would write down on their little notebook or notepad whatever they were writing down. I remember that. Things like this, where there's like pattern recognition.
But see, we had that. I had that in our high school years, and then I also had that kind of testing when I went to that spot class that I was telling you about that when I was married to Eric's dad. To test me to see what grade level I was, so they knew what school they wanted to send me to.
Let me see. So this was something that I vividly remember. I don't remember like what it said or anything like that, but I do remember doing worksheets like this where you have to kind of like decode words that were either scrambled up or a certain letter meant a certain place in the word, things like that. Like that.
They have those games that you can play like on your phone.
They do. And I think that's why I like doing those. I like doing those.
Oh, I'm obsessed with that type of stuff on here.
But this one specifically is weird, the messages. I don't think any of us actually even knew what we were writing down, just that we were decoding things for a worksheet. But this one says, fellow colonists, the mothership from Zorex landed on Earth last week. Something time to Peru. Our access visited the whatever that is, and Egypt before making the ship to it. Present location. It now awaits our gathering. Close your eyes and breathe deeply. Let our minds reveal the ship's location. Our something.
See, I don't know what to think of this whole thing.
This one's just weird. I don't know if this one's real or not, but I do remember doing like worksheets like that. There's the headphones. These shapes, I remember, they would have us make like a certain thing out of them. Or they would kind of just leave. Some days they would have us make something out of them and use them with the worksheets. Other days they would kind of have it beside us and see like what we would make out of them ourselves. It was weird. But I remember that. This Morse code thing I remember doing. And I guess Abby and Chase, I think both said they didn't do this. No, Chase said he did the Morse code thing, right?
Yeah, I think Chase said he did.
So there's the Morse code thing. I remember doing that. Let me see if there's any more. This girl, she kind of rambles on about the gay program and her experience and everything. Which is good and all, but at the same time, I'm just trying to find the images.
It'd be cool to kind of just find a scientific, full-fledged documentary that somebody had on that whole thing.
They had you doing Morse code. I know it sounds crazy, but I remember the Morse code thing. I didn't know that it was Morse code, and I didn't know if we were like deciphering something or like cracking a code or something, but I remember doing the Morse code. There's also some people that claim to have done like a Russian worksheet. I don't believe that one because that one's kind of far-fetched. I know I didn't decode any Russian. This isn't Stranger Things. Let's see if this guy has. No, he just talks.
But the binary numbers.
Yep, binary numbers.
What year did they claim the Russian one? Cactus asked.
That I am not sure, but I do know that people who have seen videos on TikTok of the GATE program has said like they would show a worksheet of like a Russian. It's in this one. Oh yeah. Okay, hold on. I'm getting distracted. The binaural beats. That one was interesting. The psychic test one, like I was saying, they would have you show you a card or whatever, but your hands had to be on the table, and the card would be flipped over, and you'd have to tell them what the shape was. This is the Russian one. I never saw anything like that one. Here's the astral projection one. People claim that you were sitting down in a big beanbag chair. They told you to close your eyes and vision you out of your body, and then you would have like an outer body experience and have to tell them about it and so on and so forth. I never had that happen.
Kiwi said, "Are you sure it was fluoride?" That's the thing. No, excuse me. No, she's not sure. That's what they told her it was, but she's not sure.
No, they did not tell me. They just said, "Oh, here's a drink."
Oh, I thought you said that they said it was fluoride.
Mm-mm. No,
okay.
The community, the GATE program community said that was like straight up fluoride. And it even says it like, see.
Gosh dang it.
But anyways, decoding hieroglyphics, I remember doing this, and you remember doing this. Because I was like, why am I decoding hieroglyphics? This is not the Stone Age.
No, I'm going to be sneezing. Thank you, Ronan. I'm going to be sneezing because I sneeze about 20 times in a row.
Mall World is the one dream that supposedly GATE kids have experienced. There's also pool room, the mansion with the checkered floors. I think there's a like cabin in the woods with like smoky like fog around it. I think, I'm not sure, but that also somehow correlates to things. Artificial language. I remember doing those because I was so fascinated with like symbols and shit that I would write them in my like journals or like on pictures or something in the corner of my book every time I did something.
No, you got me curious on that one now because I'm trying to remember if when I went for the testing, me and one of my friends we created a language, a special code language that we could, which I'm sure everybody's done it in school, but we created a special language where we could pass notes, and if it happened to be found, nobody but us knew what those codes meant. And I'm wondering if that was about the same period of time when I got.
I know me and Samantha made up our own
Well,
language.
that's what I'm wondering. I'm wondering if that well, you that was past then for you, but I'm wondering if that correlates during the same time period. Interesting. That's going to be bothering me.
But I do remember the symbols and stuff because, like I said, I've been like so fascinated with the symbols, and I would draw symbols and like shapes and shit on the top of my like paper or like anywhere there was blank for some reason. I don't know why, but I did. I wish I could find some of those.
I wonder. Well, no, because I was going to say I wonder if they picked more girls than boys, or if they did equal boys, equal girls. I'm guessing they probably did equal boys to girl ratio. So,
I mean, if it was random, I don't know. But here's the binary code. Which, by the way, is for like computers.
Linda said, what was the GATE program for? They were told it was for gifted children, but the conspiracy is that it was CIA government operated.
Yeah, people who have actually asked about it were told that it was to, and even if you ask AI, that it was made for children who have a higher intelligence than the majority of their class. So, like, if it said you're in like the 90 percentile of people in your class who have made it past or read this or has this grade, then you would be put into this program. But also there was random people that were taken, and you didn't have to be like an honor roll student, you didn't have to be a valedictorian, you didn't have to be a super smart person to be taken out of class and put into this program randomly. That's why I'm like, it makes no sense to me that if they were trying to grab the kids that were smarter to advance them a further grade, why they didn't grab the super smart kids because I know there was a few super smart kids in my class that they did not take ever, but for some reason chose me, and they were getting like A's all the time. They should have been probably in 2 grades higher than me, and they weren't. So that's why it was to advance grades and things like that makes no sense to me. And also, why would you be doing remote viewing to advance a grade?
See, B squared said a lot of those are aptitude, and that's when I had them. That's how I think of them. But the only thing that's thrown me off is this mystery pink liquid or pill, and why, like aptitude tests, a lot of that stuff that she showed on there is aptitude, but the remote viewing and astral projection, if those indeed were part of it, some of that just doesn't make sense.
The remote viewing, I remember. Yeah. The astral projection, I don't know if that was real or not, because I definitely didn't. I definitely would have came home and be like, Mom, we just did the craziest shit ever in this weird classroom.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I think it was just like my opinion, and I'm not dissing anything that she believes or anybody else, but I just think of it the same as a teacher playing favoritism, that when they're choosing these kids, they get a group and, okay, this group is smart, but I want that one, I want that one, I want that one, and they're going to go in for testing. That's how I think of it. But again, it wouldn't be a conspiracy theory if things like this didn't come up. So
I think that if it really was for the smart kids, they would get the people that were the smartest in the class only, and put them in these rooms and have them do the tests or whatever. But the tests that they're doing makes no sense. The things that they're showing them and asking them makes no sense.
What's confusing me is if it's supposed to be for the really, really, really smart kids, then why are they picking kids out of the special education class unless, I mean, I know autistic kids are extremely smart, but they just can't show it like you or I can show it. So is that what they were searching for when they were going into special education classes to see if there's somebody that was maybe autistic or something that they could test for future? Because I know they use autistic people at NASA. So like it gets very confusing, and it is a subject that makes you think. But I do agree with B squared. All of those are regular aptitude tests, and I know when I was like I said, third or fourth grade, and then again my whole high school years, and then again when I had to take those same tests when we went back to school when I was married to Eric's dad. So I don't know. It's just.
But here's the body language one that I was talking about, where they would either ask you like how you're feeling, and then you'd have to point to it, or
yeah, that would have nothing to do with aptitude.
They would show you an image or something, and then you would have to point to it. Like they did the weirdest things ever, and I sometimes they would literally just give you shapes or something and leave the room and then come back, and you would have had to do something with the shapes or not touch them at all because you weren't fucking told what to do. That was weird.
Know. Yeah, I don't know.
But here is the body language one I was talking about. They would ask you like weird questions, and Abby actually reminded me of this today. Like, did you notice anything today? Or have you seen anything today? Or just like weird questions, like questions you would not normally ask a kid. Like you would normally ask them like, how was their day? Or how are they feeling? Or you know, something to try to comfort them. Not, did you notice anything today? What the fuck was I supposed to notice? Did I notice what you wanted me to notice? Like, what do you mean?
Linda goes, I took similar tests when I was 7 to 8 in New Zealand. That confuses me. Well, that's the whole thing. It like I said, it is a good topic. It is a good subject to bring up. But
they said that it was only in the United States, but it could have been in more places and people just haven't talked about it.
But the only thing is, like I was telling Eric earlier too, the school is a government organization to begin with. So if they bring people in and they're saying it's from the government, well, the schools are government anyhow. But when it gets to some of the things like the fluid and, you know, well, how are you feeling today? Or did you notice anything? Like, that's when it does get rather goofy. And I mean, you definitely, I'm sure, piqued everybody's curiosity on why a lot of that and why only certain kids were pulled. I mean, that does pique your curiosity.
That's the most thing that I can't understand is like, if it was just to test how smart you were, I understand the different patterns that you have to remember and different like maybe words and shapes and stuff, but the decoding is weird, the remote viewing is weird, the listening to different frequencies is weird. Well,
I remember when I was in 3rd or 4th grade, whenever that happened, when they said gifted, and when they pulled me out, and then they're like, why are they pulling me out? Because I knew there were kids in my class that was even smarter than me. So that did go through my mind at the time too, but then at the same time, I didn't give a shit. I went with the flow, and then after like the second time or whatever, and that I'm there like, if they're thinking of advancing me to another grade or whatever this is all about, I don't want no part of it, and I just stopped letting them do it. I just said no, I don't want to participate in this.
Yeah, I mean, I was never told that I was going to be put into an advanced grade or anything, but I was told that I was smarter than
CB squared has everything. Feeling is emotional.
I was wise beyond my years.
Decoding is about pattern recognition.
Okay, see, those ones make sense though, but the like remote viewing ones weird. The listening to frequencies and then having to say like what you saw through the frequencies, what color they were, what they sounded like to you. That, the fluoride drinking thing. What was the other one?
Morse code. Why would you need no Morse code?
Yeah, Morse code. Binary code. Like, there's just things. Okay, binary code actually, maybe, because some people, a lot of smart kids know a lot about computers and coding and things. So maybe the binary code thing. But the Morse code, the supposed Russian, the hieroglyphics, it doesn't make sense.
I don't know.
And I remember doing most of them. And it freaks me out because, like I said, I did not remember my childhood at all until yesterday when randomly I got this flashback of me in this room with this lady staring at me and asking me random shit. And then my For You page is like, oh, by the way, there is. That's what you're actually saying.
That is what's weird, though. That I do agree on that. If you're thinking that, all of a sudden it starts showing up on your For You, that in itself is. But you could be sitting in the living room talking, and then that same shit is showing up on your phone. But thinking something and showing up on your phone, that's a whole different.
Yeah, I didn't talk to anybody about it because I was the only one that was in the house at the time cleaning. Dylan was at work. Abby and Chase were gone somewhere. I had nobody to talk to. And I don't talk to myself. I'm not like, oh yeah, I was just really thinking about, I don't do that. So how did my phone know what I was thinking and then kind of like projects it onto my phone saying like, basically, well, by the way, this is what you were just envisioning. Here you go. It's right here.
I don't know. It is a lot to think about. Like my whole thing, though, and I like I said, I'm not here. I'm like straight in the middle with what to think about all this. But I do know too that the same period of time that this was all happening was also when Cooper was giving you a lot of time. So I don't know.
I'm sure. I will slightly talk to myself, then I'll realize that I'm talking to myself, and I'm like,
I think everybody talks to themselves on occasion. It's just to the caliber how much you talk to yourself.
Yeah, so I'll like, if I have a question, maybe say it out loud.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, oh shit, I said that
Did
out loud.
I just say that out loud?
Mm-hmm. And then I would stop. I'm not like having a full
Well, here's another perfect example. You get yelled at for something, especially when you were a kid. You have a habit of doing this. You get yelled at something or somebody pisses you off when you walk away. Did they really do that? You have a habit. That's common. Everybody does that. But it's like
I'm not having like a full-on conversation to myself saying like, oh wow, that was a weird vision that I just had. I wonder what like things like that.
For many minutes, that's when it's like, okay. Well, like that lady that we seen down at the Food Lion down in South Carolina, we pull in the Food Lion to pick up Eric from work, and there'd be a woman standing there, and she was having a full-fledged conversation with the wall. And she would be talking and talking and talking and talking to the wall. And where they're like, okay. And she was regularly, she did that down there. Don't you remember her?
The one that wore the coat all the time.
I think she did have like a jacket or coat on. I don't remember. It wasn't cold. It got chilly down there. But yeah, she was always right by where the one post was in particular, right the wall, like right behind that post.
Yeah, because we didn't believe you, and then we saw it the one day. We were like, oh,
yeah,
that's.
Eric can tell you about it because I guess she was a frequent flyer down there. That she had a full-fledged conversation going. I think she was a crackhead, though. I think, yeah, I'm pretty sure she was a crackhead. So, but does anybody have any questions? Because we're over an hour here tonight. Now, I am considering being back Monday. I'm going to work on that story, the Chippewa Owl. And then I'm going to play it what day the Universal Yums comes in. But does anybody have any questions? Because if not, like I said, we will probably back either me and Gabriella on Monday. But I might try to do a nightly thing, Monday through Friday. I don't know. Like, we don't want to bore you guys to death, but there's so much different topics in that is coming up now. And we know Monkey, we want Monkey to tell us all the stuff in that from New Mexico. Ronan was on. Maybe Ronan wants to share. B Squared, Cactus, Linda, Eric, you guys are all amazing, smart people. Anything that you guys want to share, definitely just, let us know. And if you don't want to say anything on there, send it to one of us and we will relay it on the show for you. And of course, say, hey, this is from Cactus, this is from Linda, this is from B Squared, whoever it's from, we will make sure that everybody knows that it's your story. But if anybody doesn't have any questions, we knew we won't be a real long one tonight, but we did still manage to go over an hour. But it was a challenging, it was a very good topic. And like I said, I'm on the fence with it. I'm not here nor there, but it's like any other conspiracy theory. There's going to be the people that is going to be 100%. Yeah, that there's something to it, and then there's going to be others that say, that's bull. But there's going to be people like me that's going to be right on the fence. So that's what a conspiracy theory is like. But it was a great topic.
I just figured I had to let you guys know what was happening to me, and it still kind of goes through my mind. Like, I can't believe that this actually happened, and that a bunch of other people are experiencing the exact same thing, and that we're all just kind of like remembering it now. Clean again, Kevin.
So, well, and here's the thing too, is now everybody that's watching, Ronan, like I said, if you have something that you want to come on and talk about or anything too, I don't know what everybody, like when we click off, what they're going to think, but all of them that's on tonight now, after we do click off, they're like, maybe I'll look into this too and can come up with more information for one of the future shows. Because as we always say, when we do a show, if we find out more information down the line pertaining to that show, we will do a show update on anything new we come out with. So since this was just brought up, who knows what, since it's obviously showing up on her phone a lot now, who knows what other information is going to show up in the future.
The weird thing, though, that I was also telling Mom was all the videos that are showing up on my For You page now were from last year. Like the beginning of last year, people were remembering the GATE program and everything, and were sending videos out. I looked at every single one of them, and they all showed from sometime last year. And I'm like, okay,
yeah, so why would they come out last year all of a sudden is showing up? Yeah. So that in itself kind of raises questions there. But like I said, you guys, after we click off here, go back, relax, let it go through your heads, and if there's something that you find out or if you want to do a little research and say, hey, there's something to this, hey, that's what this format is all about. As I've said before, we've said before, this is our real talk forum. We want you to feel like you're sitting right here with us. So what we share, you share. We want to all come together and have nice, friendly format going on. And that's how we're going to keep it. We want it to stay that way. So, but B Squared, thank you for showing up here. Quick notice tonight. All of you guys, thank you from the bottom of our hearts for showing up and listening to this incredibly interesting topic. And I will put a notification in tomorrow what the schedule will be for this week. But as you know, Tuesdays and Thursdays, 100% guaranteed. So just with that being said, we're going to say stay tuned and
peace out.
Love you guys. Thank all of you so much for joining. Have a nice evening, guys.
Bye, y'all.
Bye-bye.